What's good? My name is Charity Croft, and the video you're about to watch is by far my most requested video topic of all time. So at long last, let's talk about reparations. Enjoy. So the first question is, what exactly are reparations? Where did the concept even originate? Well, the word reparation means the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. Now, specifically within the context of American reparations, we're talking about making amends for the vicious system of American slavery, and more importantly, how that system still affects black people till this day. On January 12, 1865, Union General William T. Sherman and Abraham Lincoln met with a group of newly freed black leaders to decide what would be done for black people now that slavery was officially over. 4 days later, General Sherman drafted up Field Order Number 15. It in detail described that the land confiscated from the slave owners in the South would now be divided up amongst the newly freed black people. There was 400,000 acres of land between South Carolina and Georgia. And the final decision was to divide this land up amongst the freed slaves and even loan mules to the landowners so that it could be worked. This is what we now affectionately know as 40 acres and a mule. So let's be clear, reparations was absolutely a finalized decision made by the President of the United States, and it was ready to put into action. And then Lincoln was assassinated. After Andrew Johnson then became president, he signed a proclamation taking the land back from the black people it was promised to and giving it back to the slave owners who originally owned the land. And bye-bye reparations. Fast forward now to 2021, and black people have still not been made whole for the intense, unimaginable trauma that we have faced over the centuries. Many people think that it's too far in the past to be currently concerned with, but I'm going to tell you all the reasons why reparations is still a very valid conversation. So black people account for 13% of the population, but we only have 2.6% of the nation's wealth. Less than 3%. That is staggering. The median net worth of a white household is $171,000 per year. Now I want you to take a guess at what you think the median net worth of the average black household is. Really, I want you to take a guess right now. You got your answer? The median net worth of a black household is $17,000 a year. That means that the average black family is 10 times poorer than the average white family. Now, regardless of your race, I want you to consider how inconceivably different your life would have been had your family had 10 times more money than they had when you were a child. So let's be clear. After hearing that information, if you still think that there is some valid reason as to why black families would make 10 times less than white families, then you are a racist. This is very clear evidence that there is some kind of socioeconomic circumstances that are leading to this case. And again, if you think that black families make 10 times less than white families just because of themselves, then you are a racist. I don't want you to feel judged by that statement. I want you to acknowledge it. And hopefully the rest of this video can help you in that healing journey. According to a 2016 study, if the average wealth held by white families just completely stopped, it would take black Americans 228 years to catch up to them in wealth. And it's very ironic that it would take 228 years when you consider the fact that slavery was just about that same amount of time. Could it be that our current economic condition is related to a historical lack of access to resources? No way, what a strange idea. Yeah, and I know I said historical lack of access to resources, but that lack of access is still very current. For example, school funding is directly based on the property value of the homes in the neighborhood. This means that if you live in a poor neighborhood and black people disproportionately do, then your school will be poor and thus your education will be poor. This also means that if you live in a rich neighborhood, which white people disproportionately do, then your school will be rich and thus your education will be rich. Let me make that plain for you. If you live in a white neighborhood, then it is a statistical fact that your school will most likely be better than if you live in a black neighborhood. It is also a statistical fact that low education directly leads to the inability to build wealth and success. None of this is because of some inherent problem within black people. All of these things that I've mentioned thus far are direct effects of housing systems, employment systems, prison systems, economic systems, all that were established within a country that has made it its historical business to limit the humanity and upward mobility of black people since the ending of slavery, and all of those circumstances still affect us till this day. Now that we have made the case for why reparations are necessary, let's talk about how they could be done. Well, according to William Darity, the current value of that 400,000 acres of land is about $1.5 to $2 trillion. That amount divided by approximately 35 million eligible Black Americans equals about $40,000 to $60,000 per person. Now, $2 trillion sounds like a lot until you realize that the yearly federal budget floats around $4 trillion. Also, the GDP was $21 trillion in 2019 alone. And no one's even saying to just hand all Black people a $60,000 lump sum. We could even split it out over 5 years. That would be giving Black people an extra $1,000 a month, and for a community with an average net worth of $17,000, that would be completely unmistakably life-changing. There are some issues, of course. One is that when lots of money is printed out like that, inflation occurs and thus lowers the value of the dollar. Also, and more specifically to the Black community, temporary money will only do so much. The true point of reparations is to finally get Black people on a level, equal playing field with our white counterparts, which is less about having wealth and more about our ability to create it. What I'm saying is that cash will do us some good for a few years, but very soon after, it will revert back to exactly how it is now because we as a culture lack access to infrastructure. So even something as simple as revoking the law that says schools are funded by property taxes would exponentially, infinitely benefit the Black culture. We don't just need financial reparations, we need systemic reparations. We need the way in which police, prison, education, and employment systems work to all be massively reimagined so that even after Black people have equivalent wealth, it can remain that way. In conclusion, I'll say this. After the murder of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, we saw a massive call for social justice. More than ever before, mainstream America was saying things like, Black Lives Matter. But that needs to be more than just a bumper sticker that you put on the back of your car. If Black lives truly matter to this country, then we must create an environment in which those lives can flourish. We are more than just a catchphrase. We are real. I love you. One more thing, if you want to learn everything that I talked about in this video, plus every other piece of knowledge that I have ever learned ever, then click the link in my bio and join the Genius Factory. With this quarantine, we are in the hardest moment of our entire lifetimes, and so I have created a quarantine super school. In it, I have videos about financial empowerment, overcoming anxiety and depression, finding peace, actualizing your purpose. Click the link in my bio and join the Genius Factory. Please, please, I guarantee that you will come out of this quarantine stronger than ever. See you there. I love you.